Unit 1, Introductory Level to Beekeeping, Apiculture. We are looking at beekeeping in an environmentally friendly manner to the ecosystem that contributes to pollination to create life. It also increases yields and provides additional generation of income and employment. Furthermore, it provides food such as honey, cosmetic products, polish, and further enhances the use of these for food and medicine. Managing apiaries. As a farmer doing beekeeping, your site selection for your apiary is important. When selecting the site for your apiary, please consider the safety of neighbors, farmers, community, and even the bees. Bees can travel 4 to 5 miles to forage for food and water. It is okay to have approximately 30 to 35 colonies in an apiary, but any more colonies would increase competition for nectar and increase chances of swarming. Set up the apiary away from houses and avoid roads traveled by animals, people, or vehicles. Avoid areas where pesticides and toxic products are applied. Environmental factors to consider are to avoid wet places in regions of high heat. We recommend that you place the hives in shaded areas but without being completely under the canopy, at around a 50-50 shade cover. Lastly, consider the movement of equipment and materials to and from your apiary. We mostly recommend a 15 to 25 minute walk from your home or farm. Beekeeping Inventory. Tools and equipment needed for beekeeping are hive stands, nucleus boxes, smoker, wax foundation, wire frames, gloves, bee brush, queen excluder, extractor, sieve, uncapping tool, and honey storage. Bee ecology. The queen bee. The queen bee is the most important bee in the colony, responsible for the laying of eggs and ensuring that there is always a continuation of the colony. She lays 1,500 to 3,000 eggs per day. This is her only job. She is also a stingless bee. She doesn't collect nectar or pollen, or feed or care for her young. Please note that the queen is the biggest bee in the colony, and very importantly, a colony must have only one queen to prevent swarming. Worker bee. Worker bees are female bees that have underdeveloped reproductive organs. They do not mate, but they may lay eggs if the colony becomes queenless, and in this case, they produce drones. They work by hunting for flowering plants to collect nectar for honey production, and they ensure the hygiene of the hive as well. They're the protectors for the hive from any intruders. Worker bees do sting and have apitoxin, which may produce local inflammation. Drone bee. Drone bees are male bees hatched from an infertile egg. They are heavier and shorter than a queen, but larger than the workers. Their only purpose is to mate and fertilize eggs from the queen. How they do that is by flying away with the virgin queen to mate in the sky. Unit 2, Intermediate Level. Managing wild swarms. What is a swarm? A swarm is an overpopulation of the colony. This occurs when the new queen bee leaves the main colony, or when there are natural enemies or a shortage of food. How to prevent swarming? To prevent swarming as a beekeeper, you would need to monitor new queen cells and even do a reduction in the numbers of hives by splitting. We recommend monitoring after the end of the rainy season. Method of capturing swarms. It is essentially creating accommodation for the wild bees by using nucleus boxes with food such as honey and pollen to rehouse the wild bees and then to easily transport them to an apiary or safe place away from harm. Management and maintenance of colonies. As a beekeeper, you decide when to visit the apiary. We recommend visiting 2 days per week or 15 days for the month maximum. Visitation should be in the evening because all bees usually return from foraging in the evening. Basic revision should include checking for nectar and pollen reserves. Also check if the egg pattern is being evenly laid. This will indicate the egg production capacity of the queen. Check for pests and diseases. Inspection of the hive. Materials you will need are a smoker, your personal protective equipment, and hive tools. Before opening the boxes, One must calm down the bees by applying 4 puffs of smoke at the entrance of the box. Shortly after applying the 4 puffs of smoke, lift the top board at a 45-degree angle, wait 30 seconds, then completely remove the top board. Use your hive tool to slowly remove the middle frame for inspection. Lift the frames one at a time to eye level to inspect. You'll be looking for eggs, for worker bees, and the presence of a queen bee. Also inspect for any new queen cells. This will indicate signs of a possible swarm. Lastly, inspection will indicate if any frame addition is needed. Do note that the sticky substance sealing the boxes is called propolis. This is a yellow to dark brown sticky substance depending on the origin of the resin. The bees use this as a protection to seal spaces between the top and bottom board to the main box. Like people, bees have a unique way of organizing their homes. The bees' natural home order is broken down into 3 sections. 1. The frames to the sides and edges of the box are food reserves. 2. Frames that are halfway to the middle are sealed brood cells. And lastly, 3. The middle frames are open brood cells where the queen is usually present. Ensure that any removed frame is placed back in the same arrangement and location from where it was extracted so as to avoid confusion within the colony. Check for peanut-looking cells, and if present, remove them to avoid swarming of colonies. Lastly, inspect the formation of the eggs, as you do not want any overlapping of eggs being laid in cells. Management during the rainy season. This is a difficult time for the bees. Normally there is a high incidence of pest and disease and food shortage. We recommend it is best to avoid excessive handling, treat for disease and pest if there is any present, and lastly, supply food supplements to your bees. These food supplements can be created using 2 cups of sugar to 1 cup of water. You must boil to dilute the sugar and remove excess water. Let it cool, then fill in a clear plastic bag, and lastly place in the box for the bees to feed on. Use of a queen excluder. It's usually used during the honey season, where a metal or plastic queen excluder is introduced to the colony. It's placed between chamber 1 and/or 2, and a super box is added on top. It's the beekeeper's discretion if he or she wants to have 1 or 2 brood chambers. A chamber is where the queen bee exists and where she lays her eggs for production. During the honey season, honey is extracted from the super box and not from the chambers. The purpose for an excluder is for the queen bee not to have access to the super box where she may lay her eggs. Pest and disease management. Pest and disease identification. Some pests to watch out for are army ants, which attack weak colonies, wax moths, lizards, frogs, and birds. Diseases which may affect your apiary are varrosis, caused by an infestation of varroa mites. Apiary expansion, splitting or dividing. The reasons for splitting is to increase the numbers of colonies, but also to reduce the chances of swarming. Materials you will need for splitting are nucleus box, strong colony, bottom board, top board, and bee stands. Splitting is performed shortly after honey season ends and starts mid-June once a large amount of drone bees are still present in the colony. When to split. You can split after an inspection of the colony is performed. A split can be done with a well-developed, strong colony. This is indicated by bees hanging under the boxes. Steps to split. Step 1. Extract 2 reserve frames. Step 2. Extract 2 sealed brood frames. Step 3. Look for a sealed peanut cell. Step 4. When a peanut cell is identified, place it in a box containing 4 to 5 frames. Step 5. Wait 4 to 5 days to wait for a new queen to hatch. To prevent swarming as a beekeeper, you would need to monitor new queen cells and even do an increase in the number of hives by splitting. Please keep in mind, when handling the frames, it is best not to shake the bees off the frame. The reasoning behind this is because you want enough bees from the strong colony to be working on the frames. Place the frames into the bee box slowly, then replace the top and bottom boards. Move the new box approximately 1,000 yards away from the mother box.
The new split should be inspected after 5 days.
As a beekeeper, you will be able to perform 5 to 6 splits on each colony that has 10 frames, but over a 1-year period. Unit 3. Advanced Level to Beekeeping.
Harvesting techniques. The honey season starts from January through the ending of May. Inspect your hive, and if 75% of the frames are filled with honey and are sealed, this indicates that the honey can be harvested. Frames full of only honey are located in the supers. The supers should be removed and taken to an extraction area approximately 300 yards away from the apiary. Do not harvest next to the apiary because the bees might swarm towards the honey. We recommend not to expose the honey to direct sunlight. Do not use excessive smoke while harvesting. It is best to use smoke in an even manner of puffs, slow and steady. The amount of harvesting depends on the stage of the hive. If the hive is productive, then harvesting can be done every 2 weeks. Please note that hives are potentially powerful at the beginning of the flowering season, January to February. Hives may populate up to 30,000 bees during this period, so take care. You will need to provide a super with wax to provide more space for the bees to store honey and reproduce. Materials needed for harvesting: a smoker, personal protective equipment, hive tool, uncapping knife, stainless steel extractor, and sieve. Extracting the honey. At the honey extraction zone, slowly remove a frame from the super. Use a stainless steel container to capture the honey and wax. Hold and place the frame vertically over the stainless steel container, and with the uncapping knife, slowly cut and remove the seal from the honeycombs. This process is done for both sides. Once the honeycomb seals have been removed, slowly insert the frame into the extractor chamber. Use the handle to spin the extractor so that the honey can drain into the extractor. The honey will then be sieved into a container to be bottled or stored. Storage. Store honey in clean washed containers such as plastic buckets, stainless steel containers, or bottles. Transport the honey to the beekeeper's home, where the beekeeper then decides to sell it either by retail or wholesale.
Beekeeping Sustainability.
Communities use beekeeping as a way of income generation, food, and medicine to create a diverse income stream to support their families. Beekeeping is done to improve the livelihood and to diversify a farmer's capacity for his or her development and sustainability. And lastly, beekeeping is a sustainable and environmentally friendly practice for the survival of bees and forest cover.
Managing production records.
Managing production records. We recommend beekeepers to keep a log of production, such as the amount of honey produced, colony history, visits, splits, swarms captured, expenses such as bottles, buckets, and labels, any other investments made into the hive, and technical assistance received in beekeeping. Apiculture by-products. Some apiculture by-products are wax, bee pollen, venom, propolis, royal jelly, and honey. Value-adding by-products. Some ways beekeepers can add value to by-products is using wax to make candles, soaps, or cosmetics, or to reinvest back into the apiary as wax sheep. From the bee pollen, shakes or supplements can be made. The venom can be used by medical professionals to treat blood clots. Propolis can be used as an anti-inflammatory agent and to heal skin. And lastly, you can use royal jelly and honey as cough medicine or as high-energy food.